I'm Scott Lucas. This is today's EA Worldview on Syria, a clarification about Western journalists, the chemical weapons attacks, and propaganda. Last week, we featured a video in which I talked about Western journalists who had presented so-called investigations of the chemical weapons attacks of last year, which paralleled the line of argument being put out by Russia since August, when hundreds of Syrians had died in attacks near Damascus. I specifically referred to articles by Gareth Porter and Seymour Hersh. I misspoke at one point in that video. I meant to say that Seymour Hersh had never referred to attacks which took place on Wanamia in West Ghouta, focusing only on those east of Damascus. But I accidentally said Gareth Porter rather than Seymour Hersh. Mr. Porter took offense and said we were lying. I do apologize. I didn't mean to lie. I simply slipped. So let me set the record straight. Gareth Porter, whose work I have followed for many years and who has recently begun to write about Syria, did talk about the attacks both in East Ghouta and West Ghouta on August 21st. He did talk about the attack on the town of Wanamia, in which there was a rocket which was retrieved by UN inspectors and in which sarin was found on the site. However, in reporting that event, he made a series of jumps, leaps, and speculations. He misreported the rocket as being a 440 millimeter rocket. It in fact was a 140 millimeter Soviet-made rocket from the 1960s, which was only held by the Syrian army. It has never been held by insurgents. He did note that there was sarin which had been found at the site, but he tried to indicate that that sarin was in no way connected to that rocket or to any other rockets that may have been found. He did talk about victims who had suffered from the attack, except he said they probably weren't suffering from sarin. They were creating to blame. I'm happy to put that on the record. I stand by the rest of that video, which says that in articles such as that by Mr. Porter, Mr. Seymour Hersh, and by some other observers and journalists, they are not drawing from the facts and drawing from the evidence. They are repeating exaggerations, distortions, and misinformation. And that some of that misinformation and distortions were deliberately put out by Russian authorities within days of August 21st, 2013, in the hope of obscuring what had actually happened. I'm Scott Lucas, and this is today's EA Worldview on Syria.